How are we doing today, folks? Hope you have a good day. Hope the Christmas season and the New Year's so far treated you pretty well. So it's 2019. School is back in session. For me, it's my last final. I know it's redundant, but I'm just so excited that it's my last semester. Which means I'm going to try the best I can to pull out as much material as I can and as much topics from class that I can use on here. And also, folks, don't be afraid to send me questions or anything. If you ever hear something that your professor say, that a fellow student says that you question, you're not quite sure how to debate it, or you know what points to use against them, or something you've never heard before, trust me, I've heard all of it. And if I haven't, send them to me, and I will find the truth for you. Whether it resides on the left, somewhere in the middle, on the right, just from what I've learned from my experience, it's resided with conservatism and with freedom and liberty, and so on and so forth. So I'm going to make this, try to make this as short as possible. So today, this video is about an article that I wrote that was posted on bloodredpatriots.com. If you want to go send it over, I'll put the link in the description. So it's titled, it's titled "Defending Conservative Ideas and Liberal College Culture." So, have you ever had a teacher? Have you ever debated with your teacher or debated with a fellow student? You know, sometimes they might try to shut down your argument by saying a certain statement like, I don't know, women only make 77 cents on the dollar, right? Something like that, something to that effect. That is what they're trying to do in that argument is trying to take authority over your argument. What that means is they're trying to basically deter your case or the points that you're going to make. They're trying to just stop it right there. So they're trying to make so they don't have to deal with any sort of counter argument. And so for my first point, it's called "Don't Fall for the Argument of Authority." This is most significant when it comes to professors and teachers, but it can also come from fellow students as well, depending on what talking points they use from the left. And the left loves 1-2 punches. So let's give an example. So with the most pointless government shutdown, right? What are we calling that? It's posted on the Millennial Review. I titled it "The Most Pointless Shutdown in American History" because it was basically what the Democrats tried to do, and what Schumer did in that situation, was he tried to make the Republicans look bad and Trump look bad, right? So we did the 1-2 punch, but what happened was the Republicans kept throwing punches back, and the Democrats caved. Not only did they cave, but now they're fleeing DACA and they're fleeing Dreamers and saying that they're going to end up. They would agree to a long-term spending bill that didn't really include a statute including Dreamers or DACA, or permanent statute, so to speak. So the Democrats the left always tries to do this. They try to do the 1-2 punch because they're hoping that there's enough hysteria and there's enough emotions behind that 1-2 punch, false or not, however false it is, however the numbers were obtained, or whatever it is, whatever false statistics they're using. So with the 77 cents, that's what they try to do, right? So you want to try to talk about equality in America, or equity at least, or whatever it may be, or how women have it the best in America, but then they'll throw out the women only make 77 cents on the dollar to pass more laws that are just pointless and don't do anything. And so they try to do that just to shut down your argument, right? Just so they don't even have to deal with counter arguments, of course. And then when you try to do counter arguments, you're somehow a sexist or whatever else. Or, you know, you believe in fake news or any of that stupid crap. That they tried to do it first, but the Republicans took it and threw it back on them because they actually just purport such fake news. So, for the argument of authority, if your professor ever tries to knock down your points or your argument, your debate, just by saying that they've studied something longer than you have, or they're older than you, or they have majored in, you know, they have a degree or PhD or whatever, and XYZ, whatever it may be, don't ever fall for that, okay? Points matter. Facts matter. Statistics matter. Sources matter. And even knowing their bias. And obviously, if you know their bias, you know it skews to the left, because professors can't help but teach their subjective opinion rather than actual objective fact. So don't ever fall for that. Don't ever fall for statements such as the 77 cents, or such as the 97% of climate scientists, both fallacious claims, and really they just try to stop them asking the validity of their statements, the validity of their argument. So don't ever fall for that. I know it can be a little scary sometimes, or you don't debate that much. A little anxious to debate your professor because they might just generally know more than you about something. But don't let that deter you, and don't let them being the professor and having some sort of authoritative position in that class as a professor stop you from debating with them respectfully, of course. So don't ever fall for that. Don't ever let somebody take an argument of authority, especially a professor. Always question the points, always question their facts. That's what matters the most. It doesn't matter what PhD they have. If your facts beats theirs and your statistics beats theirs, then you win that argument. And then the students around you get to see that and get to hear a different side of an issue. So my second point is always be ready and willing to question what professors teach you, which kind of stems off of the first point. If you ever hear something, if your common sense ever tells you, or something you've ever read, or something doesn't quite feel right about something a professor said, or maybe they say in a negative demeanor. I've done that. So your teachers, your professors talk about Trump, but they roll their eyes, or they try to make it sound like he's stupid, like he doesn't know what he's doing, or people in his cabinet, whatever it may be. That is legitimately something you can question your teachers about the topic that they're saying. If you want to call them out for their demeanor towards Trump, please do so, and they're going to be really hot on the spot. But always be willing and ready to question professors if you are willing to question them, because what's so important, the most important thing in all this is that the students around you they get a different perspective. They think for themselves more. What's most important is that people think for themselves more. What's so dangerous about the liberal culture on campus and leftist professors is that they deter students from thinking for themselves, because too many students fall into the argument of authority thinking that the professor is right. The professor knows better than they do, so the professor must be right. Or that if they hear it so much in the media, and they hear all the same liberal talking points in the media and from the liberal professors, it must be true, it must be correct. And that's not true at all. When you have people with the same bias, going to the same sources, throughout most of the media and throughout most of the educational institutions in our country, that doesn't mean it's true. That just means that all these people are biased and they lean heavily left, and that they twist the facts of their narrative, is what it is. So they might take a real number and they twist it to their narrative, and they just make that number totally false, and it's really an erroneous action to take. So if you hear something that's off, and this is when common sense comes in handy too, because if something just triggers your common sense and you think that just doesn't quite sound right with what my professor's saying right now, always be ready and willing to question them. Don't be afraid to question them. And don't be afraid to question even what the whole class time is committed to. Because I've had whole class times that are just committed to fallacies, and it's really just been mind-blowing. Just the amount of crap that your professors know that is just false. And they think it's true. And that's what's sad. They think it's true because they were indoctrinated, or hopefully they're not purposely sitting there trying to make you think a certain way. I think some honestly do, and that's pretty egregious of them. So that leads us to point number 3. Don't let emotions control you or impair your judgment. So you haven't fallen for the argument of authority. Good. You're questioning, and you're willing to question, and you are questioning your professor about something that they said that just doesn't sound right, that sounds biased, that you want to get to the bottom to, whether it's their sources or the facts behind it or whatever it may be. You don't fall for the lie. You get past the first 2 points. So the third one, don't let emotions control you or impair your judgment. This is so important, and I think it's probably the most important point on here. As younger people, and most people in college are overwhelmingly younger, it's hard for us as younger people to not let our emotions run us. I know I do it sometimes, and I make mistakes, and it's hard being honest with yourself when you do that, because we don't ever want to know that we make a mistake. But you need to be honest with yourself and realize that you can make mistakes. Obviously, you can make mistakes, and you can let your emotions run to you, get to you, especially when you're younger. And when you learn that and you learn that wisdom, you're not saying it won't happen, but it will happen less. And when it does happen, you can be a man or woman or whatever you are about it, and just admit to it and become a better person, become a stronger person to move on. And that's so important. So when it comes to don't let emotions control you or impair your judgment, if you're debating a teacher and they say something that's just so erroneous or egregious that it might actually piss you off a little bit, or they keep saying fallacies. I know with me that it's so hard every day when you just hear such lies and liberal narratives that are backed by nothing but opinion. and backed by nothing but bogus studies, it's so hard sitting there knowing that other students are being brainwashed by this. And sometimes I've gotten annoyed from it, and in certain debates I have, it's gone from me making a sophisticated argument and having an actual decent, worthwhile debate to becoming just look like me ranting. And I might be saying the truth, but to other students it look like I'm ranting. And what's most important, like I said before, it's getting other students to think for themselves. That's what's the most important thing. To think for themselves, to think as an individual and not as, oh, I'm being told this, so it must be true, especially if it's in the classroom. So always be respectful, of course, always be decent when you debate a teacher or a fellow student. Don't let fear get to you. Don't let fear get to you, because fear can easily turn to anger. Okay? And oftentimes people are afraid because they hear something that they don't know how to debate. Like they feel, and that would happen to me many times. When I hear something that just sounds so wrong, my common sense is like, this is wrong, but I didn't know how it was wrong or why it was wrong. And I'll go home and find out the facts. You have more time. There's always another time to debate. There's always another time to debate. Which means to find out facts and to research what the truth actually is, wherever it may be on the spectrum. So don't let your emotions get to you. Always be humble and kind and respectful when you debate. And just have self-control. Don't let your fears get to you, and don't let it make you ramble or your points just go way off of the actual main essence of your argument, or your words really just lead off astray of the essence of your main argument. And don't become angry or even annoyed. It's hard to not be annoyed sometimes, but you really just have that self-control. You need to have that self-control of your emotions to say, look, is what they're saying false? Yes. But I have to realize that I'm going to reach people the best by being respectful, by being patient, and really that keeps you honest as well, because you have your points clear in your head and you're not just blurting out things that might not necessarily be true. And accusations that even if they are true, you don't know why they are true. And I know I've done this before and I've made these mistakes, and maybe I'll make these mistakes more in the future. I really hope not to. But the calmer you are, the better you reach people, the more influential you are. Okay, and college conservatives are not trying to sit there indoctrinating other students and turn them totally as conservative as they are. I wish they would be, but that's their own choice to make. I just want them to think for themselves and not get caught up in the argument of authority to the point where they don't have any reason or will to question the teachers. And so they just go through life thinking that certain liberal and leftist talking points are true when they're not. So always be a champion of the truth. Know that you always have more time to tell the truth. Don't let your emotions get in the way. And if you feel yourself becoming afraid or angry or anything else, just take a breather and realize no matter how much maybe you want to blurt out in anger or whatever else because you're annoyed, the best thing to do is be calm. And you will be a happier person for it, you will feel more accomplished for it, and you will accomplish more of it for doing so. So folks, I hope you enjoyed this video today. I hope it helped you out a little bit. Please send in any questions, anything that you ever have, anything that maybe your friends question, or anything like that. Please, that come from your college or even high school professors. It doesn't matter to me. I don't care. I love to answer questions. I've heard it all. Some pretty gross things, and then just some pretty fallacious things. So nothing will surprise me, and I've probably already gone through it before. So thank you so much. I'll make another video soon. My name is Wyatt, and I'm the College Conservative.